on today's episode of The Unwritten Rule. What a game we got between Missouri and Oklahoma. It was just Payton and I this week. Kenny was out of town, but we recapped it for you, talked about the whole thing, all the fumbles, Drew Pyne balling out, the defense playing well, Missouri's receivers cooking, and we hit it all. We talked for about 35, 40 minutes, I think, on the game and just recapping the chaos in Columbia. What a way to renew the rivalry between Mizzou and Oklahoma. It was a great game. Great outcome for Mizzou. Great performance by Drew Pyne and company. I'm hitting my table as I hype it up just because it was that exciting. Amazing game. And we recapped it all. Me and Payton did. We also did some basketball talk, talked about Mizzou's men's basketball's win over Howard. We had men's and women's basketball talk because in quick hits, we talked women's basketball because that is a dire situation over there with Robin Pitchton and co. But yeah, good conversation about men's hoops. Just kind of went through the players again, what we liked, what we saw differently, or if that was different from Memphis, and just what we liked from a few individuals and who kind of stood out, again in a game against Howard as the men's basketball season gets underway. Then, like I said, we had quick hits, Ken Sports Shorts, Tigers in the Wild headlines, talked some Mizzou women's hoops, like I mentioned, talked a whole bunch of college football with the playoff. Mizzou in the hunt, not mathematically out, which we love to see. But yeah, great show for you guys. Just recapping the Oklahoma game, talking some hoops, and talking some college football. What a way to start off the week. I'll get right into it. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, November 11th. Happy 11/11. And holy shit, Missouri is back. Or at least not dead at the hands of Oklahoma. I don't really know where to start, Peyton, and I'm just going to ask you because, full disclosure, I didn't have the fortunality to watch this entire game. I went and rewatched a good bit of it afterward. So I have obviously seen what happens. I know what happened, but I didn't get the raw emotion of it in the moment watching it live like you did. 30-23, Missouri beats Oklahoma in one of the more insane games I think you've probably ever seen. Is that a safe assessment?
Yes, absolutely. I'll tell you what, Missouri has really put us on a ride in a few games these last 2 years. You had the Kansas State game, the Florida game, the Kentucky game I'd even throw up there, even though it wound up being a blowout. I'm sure I'm forgetting one from last season. Then this year you have the Auburn game, and now this one. This one, you could argue, is the craziest of them all. I mean, just an absolute slop fest in the first half. Drew Pyne finished with negative passing yards in the first quarter. It looked exactly like what we were anticipating. I mean, it looked terrible. Jackson Arnold and Drew Pyne were outpassed by Oklahoma's punter in the first half, I believe. I don't believe either of them had more passing yards than their punter, Luke Elzinga, had on the one fake punt. I think he was the leading passer legitimately at the half. Second half, it was, again, not a super fast start, but I mean, Missouri finally kind of broke through in the third quarter and kind of was off to the races from there. I believe it was Gabe DeArmond who kind of put it best. I think he tweeted, like, I've never seen a game go from a win to a loss to a win quite like that. And I mean, you just see, looking at the ESPN box score, 4 touchdowns in the last 318 in this one. Missouri was absolutely, to quote the great Parker Thune, dead in the water at the hands of Oklahoma. And they came roaring back from the dead. Like you said, it's kind of hard to pick one point and just start from there. I I don't really. It's just, yeah, it's impossible to kind of put this game into perfect words. If you weren't watching it, you really can't capture. It's so hard to just kind of recap it all in one. I mean, Missouri's defense was excellent. Jackson Arnold looked like a third-rate QB that really did. He did nothing all night. Oklahoma had 2 pass plays of 10-plus yards that entire game, and it was the trick play touchdown that Terrell Tatum threw to Jackson Arnold for the touchdown, and of course, the fake punt. Those were their only 2 pass plays that gained double-digit yardage. And Drew Pyne, man, he was maligned by everyone, us included. I mean, the first half did absolutely nothing to quiet that talk down. I really, really just had no faith. And you got to give him credit. I mean, in the second half, he hit that 20-yard intermediate pass to Luther Burden. And it was he was a different QB from there. It was almost like it cleared all the cobwebs for him. I mean, he was poised. He stood in the pocket and delivered a great touchdown pass to Brett Norfleet as a defender was breathing down his neck. The Theo Weiss touchdown pass that he threw, I mean, that was all Theo Weiss. Theo Weiss was excellent. He maybe is someone that you could consider player of the game. But I mean, after that fumble return for a touchdown on the Jamal Roberts fumble, nobody on earth, I think, believed in this offense coming back out. But Drew Pyne, man, hits Theo Weiss on a 28-yard slant, hits Luther Burden on a literal effort. Luther Burden is down there somewhere. Ball for 30-something yards, I think it was. Then he throws a perfect jump ball that Theo Weiss goes up and gets. And the rest was kind of history. The fumble return from Zion Young, that's just a play you'll tell your grandkids about if you were there in person watching on TV. What a perfect way to renew this old Big 12 rivalry. Quite frankly, I know Oklahoma fans will probably pretend it's not much of a it means more to Missouri than it means to Oklahoma. I don't think anyone would dispute that. But for Missouri to go out and get that win in that fashion, honestly, Missouri is not going to make the playoff. I know Drinkwitz after the game said, yeah, it keeps us alive for the playoffs. Yes, I said it, the playoffs. I don't buy that Missouri's going to make the playoff. I don't think they'll beat South Carolina no matter who's at QB. But that this is a win that, quite frankly, assuming Missouri doesn't lose out, keeps this year from being an abject failure, I think. If you get to 8 wins and then win the bowl game, that's 20 wins in the last 2 years. Then you're probably going to still be ranked at the end of the year. A lot worse ways the program could go, but this was such an unbelievably gutsy win. Oklahoma, yes, they're completely inept. They look totally overmatched for the SEC. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, this was a game everyone coming into the year for Mizzou clearly wanted to get. Someone in the post game, I don't remember who, said, I think it was Zion Young, honestly. He said, Theo Weiss said before the week that this game in particular was personal. And I mean, I'll find
that after.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So even better. I mean, I'll find the tweets. Theo Weiss was going over, man, and yelling at the Oklahoma fans after the game. Theo Weiss's dad was going nuts on Twitter, having some fun. It was just a very, it's a night you kind of dream of as a Missouri fan. It went so perfectly for them. And I mean, like we said, I didn't give Missouri a snowball's chance in hell with Drew Pyne at QB, but he shut me right up. He played excellent football in the second half. Gave me a lot of confidence that Missouri can at least, if they don't get Brady Cook back, they could probably at least get the Mississippi State game. But yeah, what a win. It's one that, even if this season doesn't end with a playoff berth, I think is a good way to keep your momentum as a program afloat.
Yeah, Payton, that was a good summary. I think we could talk about this game for 3 hours. We won't do that for the sake of you listeners' time and the sake of our voices. But there's so much like I want to hit on and go into. But I think the biggest thing from that I gathered from what you said is the grittiness and the gutsiness to go out and play a game like this. Like you see Theo going over to the Oklahoma State fan or the Oklahoma fans, excuse me, John a little bit. Obviously, he's an Oklahoma, former Oklahoma player transferred to Missouri. But this game was so clearly personal for Missouri. And this, to me, watching that back was the most they looked like last year's team from just a grittiness standpoint, from just how much you could tell they wanted it. And it shows that you can beat anybody with really anybody. Like you talked about Drew Pyne, like he was cast away, Mr. Nobody, not going to win any game for the rest of the season if he was the guy at quarterback. They found a way and he made plays. And he was awesome, amazing Selly after I think that was the Luther Burden throw, one of the touchdowns. But
it was the Norfleet throw for the touchdown.
Norfleet throw. But yeah, just I think the grittiness and the things you write, like whether or not, and we don't need to get all into the playoff thing. I don't know how like important that discussion is in the context of this game. But you're right. Like Drinkwitz has a point to an extent of like it gives you momentum going forward. I think it was just so huge to pull out a game that was so chaotic. And to clearly show, you can say all day long that you prepped well all week and how much the players wanted this, etc. But, this was a game where that obviously showed, and you could tell how much this team wanted it. And I mean, my goodness, it was fun to watch. I think the other main theme we got to talk about is just the fumbles. I mean, the ball was all over the ground on Saturday. Epitome of the chaotic nature of this game. I know you were watching on TV, Payton, and for those who maybe weren't or missed this, was when the commentator straight up said on Oklahoma's final drive at the start, as messy as this game has been, I'd be awfully concerned if there was a turnover in this situation. 2 plays later, Zion Young is running a fumble back into the end zone. Crazy commentators, I guess not jinx, but just foreshadowing. I thought that was insane. Obviously, Missouri got the scoop and score. I mean, the ending of that game, I've never seen anything like it, Payton. I think it just deserves a little bit more just discussion. I don't know, just reaction.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold was a total joke in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, there really is no other way to put it. I mean, he averaged 74 yards on 24 pass attempts. He fumbled the ball, I remember for sure, 3 different times. I mean, he had
it was 3.
The one on the first drive, the one that he actually lost, that Missouri didn't capitalize on. And then, of course, the dagger. He was just not good in this game. And that's just kind of been what it's been for not just Arnold, Oklahoma's offense in general. I mean, their offensive line was very maligned coming into this game, and it lived up to the billing. I mean, you look, I'm just going to go over to PFF here. I mean, they had one player with 2 players with a plus 60 grade on their offensive line. It was Heath Ozeda and Spencer Brown. I mean, it was a disaster. It was truly, truly terrible. And yeah, I mean, it really was kind of like it was fitting in a way, because I mean, this is just a throwback to an old rivalry. The Big 12 has had some really crazy shootouts over the year, some just wacky games. Why wouldn't it kind of be similar in the first rematch between these two? And you got to give Missouri's defense a lot of credit, because I think they knew coming into this game it was going to kind of be on them. Like, they had to keep Missouri in this game at the very least, and they did exactly that. I thought Dalen Carnell had his best game as a Missouri Tiger, and he's had some excellent games here at Missouri in his 4 years. I mean, he's been an instant contributor every step of the way, a 3-year starter now. But I mean, PFF agrees. I mean, he was their top graded defender last night with an 80.3 grade. He was all over the field. He had almost a pick 6. That was the one little blemish for him, but just flying around he had a crucial 3rd down pass breakup. I know Oklahoma's 4th fumble that was not Jackson Arnold fumbling the ball. It was Deion Burks I don't remember who forced it. There seemed to be some debate. I thought it was Dalen Carnell. Other people thought it was Marvin Burks.
Dalen Carnell is credited, at least on the stat thing I'm looking at, with 2 forced fumbles. So
yeah, I thought he forced that fumble. And I mean, Missouri, that was kind of the name of the game, was taking advantage of those mistakes. They didn't take advantage of the first fumble. I mean, they went 6 plays and then punted the ball back. But Oklahoma, they had that turnover on downs on their first their first drive of the second half. And honestly, I know it was 4th and 1 at the Mizzou 41. To that point, Missouri had done absolutely nothing on offense, and they gave Missouri a short field, and that was the one that kind of got them going. I mean, Drew Pyne took them down the field, and they were able to score there for the first time, take the lead. That Dion Burks fumble led to, in my opinion, one of the more overlooked drives of the game. I mean, that was a 9-play, 30-yard drive. Yeah. Absolutely. You said, you mentioned gritty. I could not agree more. And I thought this drive kind of encapsulated it. 3rd and 7, Drew Pyne picked up 8 on the ground, caught up, and was so fired up. I mean, that was like that shot like a bolt of lightning through the team. It felt like 3rd and 9, they call a QB draw. And then the touchdown to Brett Norfleet. I mean, there was a guy about to absolutely wreck Drew Pyne off of his right side. And he stood in there and delivered the ball. So gritty. I couldn't agree more with you that this was the game that felt the most like a game from last year. The Auburn game is also kind of up there, but this was a game where it's like you could feel the energy. At times this year, this Mizzou team has just kind of looked like they've gone out like, yeah, whatever, we're a top 25 team. We're going to go out and just play our game, we'll win, or just not had that kind of same fire under them. It was recaptured tonight. I don't know if that's maybe something they were able to get off the bye week, but it absolutely, it felt like a something to prove game. It felt like they really were playing for something. So yeah, I mean, the fumbles were just absolutely killer for Oklahoma. Missouri, that was a big thing. I think I mentioned in our pregame show, or just our preview show, that Missouri had not been forcing many turnovers in SEC play in general. And they finally were able to get that. You got to give like a ton of credit has to go to Drew Pyne, obviously. Dalen Carnell gets a ton of credit. A lot of the quote unquote credit just goes to Oklahoma for making so many mistakes. But Corey Batoon was just excellent in this game, and I really, really was impressed by him. And I'll give Drink and Kirby more credit too, because they got a lot of flack for just kind of how the offense has looked in general. And they kind of, I know at halftime, Drew Pyne said at halftime, we're just going to go all out and kind of cut loose. It showed in the second half. They went out and just pulled out all the stops and came away with easily the best win of the year.
Yeah, I think they all deserve a lot of credit to the coaches. There's some calls I want to bring up specifically, but just to build on your point on the defense for a second. Yeah, I think like you said with Dalen Carnell was maybe his best game in a Missouri uniform. The big guys showed up again. You saw that against Auburn. Johnny Walker had a good game. He had another good game. He had half a sack, 4 tackles. The linebackers, Corey Flagg had 14 tackles in this game. And Tristan Newsom 10 tackles and had the other forced fumble at the end that Zion Young scooped it and scored it to seal the deal. Zion Young was pretty good himself in this game. Had half a tackle for loss, half a sack. Like the players just showed up, and like Corey Batoon to get into.
Yeah, that was Zion Young's biggest play of the game.
Yeah, it was. But you know, half a sack's fine. But the coaches, you're right. I've been
more impactful.
I've been in love with Corey Batoon this season. I think he's got this defense humming. You know, as much as you can, like the personnel, we were really worried, you know, preseason with a lot of this defense, and particularly in the secondary. It hasn't been phenomenal. They've been burned a couple times by quarterbacks who are able to make the right reads. Clearly, Jackson Arnold's not one of those guys. But like we had a lot of question marks coming in, and Corey Batoon, I think, has responded really well in large part with some scheme stuff and just, putting players in the right positions to go make plays. And I think you saw that tonight. And then the offense as well. The play for me, you mentioned the two, there was the 3rd and 9 QB draw call, which I know exactly how I could picture you in front of your TV reacting to that when Drew Pyne kept it. It was, I bet it was a no, yes moment for you. That's my guess. Yeah. But there was that one. And then the first Theo Weiss touchdown where you have a running back out motioning as a decoy. And I think it was Jamal Roberts. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It was
waving his arms. He distracted 3 Oklahoma players and Theo Weiss walked into the end zone. And I was like, this is the Kirby Moore that I remember. This is the stuff that I remember doing last year and seeing this team do last year, and to execute all that, like you said, with a backup quarterback who just stepped the hell up. I mean, I loved it. I think it's huge. What else did you like about the offense? Because then my other thing is just like this receiving core, the numbers I'm looking at with Drew Pyne. I know they only had a 443 yards of passing, but he made the most of everybody, all of the weapons that Mizzou's had all year.
Yeah, I mean, that screen pass is a design they've busted out a few times this year, and it's gotten them 6 to 7 yards at a minimum every time, but that one was just perfect. I mean, Oklahoma was just it felt like Oklahoma was almost so overconfident that Missouri was going so vanilla that they saw Jamal Roberts going out for what looked like just a simple little screen or a swing pass, and they just all keyed in on it. And a lot of credit on that play also has to go to Theo Weiss. I mean, he was hit pretty early and just kind of had to carry guys on his back to the end zone. But no, I mean, look, Kirby Moore has not been perfect this year. I don't think he's been nearly as bad as people have made him out to be. He has his vices as a play caller. I think sometimes he does bust out QB draws a little too much. They're low percentage plays for the most part. Now, it worked well with Drew Pyne, I think, in part because Oklahoma came into that game thinking Drew Pyne is absolutely not going to run the ball. He's not a threat to do it. And he's just fast enough, I guess, to make the most of it. But man, I don't think there should ever be any doubt in Kirby Moore, the play designer. He just has some of the most creative play designs ever. I love everything about just the motions he has in some of these offenses. The screen passes are creative. Of course, everyone will always think of that fake QB pitch and everything. Love the way, and a lot of this is probably due to Drinkwitz too, but they run wide zone. Wide zone is such a good run design for Missouri. Like, if they can get the personnel on the O-line to do it. They didn't have it in 2022, so it looked so bad. But now you're seeing it. I mean, we saw it last year. A lot of credit obviously goes to Cody Schrader for being such a monster last year, but the O-line was so good last year as well. And the O-line has been up and down this year, but it was good last night for the most part. Marcus Bryant, I know, got beat a few times, but Armand Membo, you see again, consistently just one of the better players on the team.
Only 4 offensive penalties, too.
Yeah.
This is good.
The second highest graded offensive player on the team. Drake Heismeyer came in for Connor Tolson, who had struggled a bit in this game and actually played really well. So credit goes to him. Caden Green had a very good night. I thought Caden Green, I didn't.
Revenge game.
But yeah, and that was another big part of this. I mean, this was a legitimate revenge game for Theo Weiss, who, I mean, everyone kind of realized that one. Luther Burden was talking plenty of smack. He said, take y'all ass home to Oklahoma players after the game, according to, I think it was Cal Tobias, who took the photo of Luther Burden. I'll see if I can find that. But, and Caden Green. I mean, Caden Green is what kind of set it was kind of the fuel to the fire to this rivalry.
Rivalry relaunch was.
Yeah. His whole transfer saga really had Oklahoma fans furious. And I thought he played pretty well yesterday. There have been times where I've seen Caden Green get bullied this year. I didn't notice it yesterday. I thought he was really good. So lots of good progress there. Overall, you have to be really pleased with pretty much everything you saw. The run game became a true stable yesterday. I mean, I know a lot of it probably has to do with Nate Noel still not being 100%, and the numbers weren't fantastic. They only averaged 2.9 yards a carry, but I mean, Jamal Roberts, 13 carries, Marcus Carroll, 13 carries, Nate Noel, 10. Drew Pyne technically had 8. Luther Burden had 2. I want to see more of that because I think as Nate Noel gets more healthy, it's going to keep defenses on their toes for 3 different running backs that give you 3 different things. Jamal Roberts, it was unfortunate that fumble. Really, I mean, that fumble return touchdown, you could have heard a pin drop in that stadium. I thought the game was absolutely over. But I'm sure no one was happier to see Drew Pyne hit that dime to Theo Weiss in the end zone more than him. And the rest is history. I mean, that scoop and score is just not going to be forgotten anytime soon.
The game is just crazy. Every time you just bring up that there's the last 3 drives of a scoop and score, a touchdown, and another scoop and score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
fumble.
fumble.
That I mean, a quarterback catching a touchdown pass.
Yeah, good point. Jackson Arnold's caught a touchdown. I completely agree with you on Roberts. I think they've found something with him. I know the fumble sucks, but I think they've got something going with him that I really like for future seasons. And I think I agree. I like the way the carry distribution in the run game was kind of carried out. The chippiness too. I'm glad you hit on that. I thought it was good to see players, talking about it. We mentioned kind of the implications of this rivalry, but I really liked I like to see them talking smack. Like, it is a game that matters. That's how you kind of show it. So I enjoyed that part of it from just a rivalry standpoint. I'm just scrolling through my notes. There's just so much to hit on. We talked about the Theo Weiss, this is personal stuff. Mentioned Mizzou's defense. Do you want to hit quickly on the fact that Mizzou's now given up 2 fake punts?
Yeah, I said Jamal Roberts was probably nobody was happier than him to see that touchdown. The only person I could contend might have been was Eric Link. I have talked to death. By the way, here is Cal Tobias tweeting the Luther Burden photo with the caption there. I have tweeted to death about, or not tweeted even, just talked about it on this show to death about how bad the special teams has been under Eric Link. I often point to the 2022 Kentucky game where they just kept giving Kentucky short fields for not a good reason, mind you, that really lost them the game. I think yesterday was so easily the worst of the Eric Link era. It was so demonstrably, I mean, horrible. I mean, I'd have to go back and find someone had a good tweet about it.
Like, Craig made his 1 field goal.
Yeah, and he missed a PAT. Right. So there you go on that. I mean, it was the fake punt for one. I have never seen, like, just they're like, if a team wants to run a fake punt on Eric Link's unit, the punt return unit will never ever be prepared for it. They will fail every time. There were like 3 different penalties. I got to find the tweet about it.
There was a kick catch interference. I know that.
Yeah, kick catch interference. MIZ Chris tweeted about it. I know. Let me see if I can find it.
There was a holding. They got called for a holding.
I think there was a kick out of bounds, but I might be thinking of something else.
I'm seeing holding and kick. Oh, kick catch interference. There's a personal foul.
Here it is. Okay, so fake punt allowed 50 yards. Personal foul on a punt return that led to points. Yeah, that was the worst one. Will Norris, who famously was flagged for the roughing the punter against Kentucky in 2022. He had another one at the end of the first half where Missouri, I mean, it was 6-3 at the time. It felt like points were absolutely, every point felt like a dagger. I mean, it was, let me see if I can find it for sure. I mean, I don't want to have it completely wrong. Here it is. So, I mean, they punted like OU gets it at the 33, but Will Norris flies in way late. The guy is on the ground, and Will Norris puts his shoulder into him for no reason, gives them 15 yards. With 6 seconds left at their own 48, Oklahoma hits a 14-yard pass. They get a 56-yard field goal. That's 3 free points they gave up there. I mean, the holding on a fair catch, the kickoff out of bounds, the false start on the made extra point that then led to the missed extra point. I mean, they got lucky on the muffed punt from Oklahoma that gave them the ball, which led to Missouri getting 3 points for free. Luke Bauer had a great punt in this game that was like 61 yards when they were backed up on their own side, which was huge.
I was gonna shout him out. He had a good game. 6 punts, 251 yards, 41.8 average, and a long of 60.
Yeah, Luke Bauer has been really good this year, no doubt about it. And I'm not giving Eric Link credit for that because they tried to replace him with Orion Phillips. It was just it's mind-boggling how bad the special teams is and has been for 5 years now. Seriously, if Harrison Mevis hadn't made like a bazillion 50-yard kicks, I'd love to know how people would view this special teams because it has been below average to flat out horrible in every game for 5 years. It is just inexcusable. They're not going to make a change, obviously, at this point in the season, but it's got to be fixed. I mean, it cannot continue like this because it's going to keep costing them like crucial parts of games. Again, Zion Young, scoop and score. Tristan Newsome, by the way, I know you mentioned his tackles, but he has had a lot of missed tackle problems this season. It's definitely been a downer year for him. He was absolutely fantastic last night, even before that fumble, that forced fumble that won them the game. Literally, he had a 78.8 PFF grade, 4th best on the team yesterday, and second best among the starters. So shout out to him. Eric Link should also buy him a steak dinner because, I mean, the special teams unit did not hold up its end of the bargain yesterday.
Yeah, I think that was the one bad that we really had to point out because, yeah, the way the game went, I mean, you're right with the points at the premium thing. Like the defensive contributions in that first half becomes so much more important. If Oklahoma turns any of those missed or made field goals into touchdowns, we're not talking about a win right now. So, they kind of set the tone and then the offense figured it out. And I think the best place I want to end it, and as we look forward, is with this quarterback, because you mentioned it at the top, how it kind of, this was a performance that I think for some people changes things. And I think it's interesting to examine. Also, I wanted to point out a note I wrote. I said, Theo Weiss more like Theo Moss on that catch. That was insane. I watched.
Yeah. Theo
Weiss that catch.
Again, someone who has had a lot of good moments at Missouri. I mean, he took that revenge game angle. I mean, how fitting was that the last offensive drive of the game involved a absolute 30-yard bomb from Drew Pyne to Luther Burden,
former OU recruit.
Yeah, a former OU recruit who flipped to Missouri, and then a touchdown to Theo Weiss, the former 5-star who spent 3 years, I think, at Oklahoma, 4 years before coming to Missouri. I mean, just the most fitting way in the world for that to end. 3 years at Oklahoma. But yeah, Theo Weiss absolutely earned every bit of his flowers yesterday.
I think he's player of the game for me. I think it's him or Dalen Carnell. That first fumble that Dalen Carnell forced was ridiculous. He punched it out of there. He looked like oh my gosh, I'm blanking on who the guy that always does that in the end. Who's really good at doing that in the NFL? Fred Warner, who he's your favorite linebacker's favorite linebacker. But I think the way to look forward with this is, I mean, Payton, how many games is this Drew Pyne winning? Because this was unprecedented. I mean, the clip, I loved the clip, by the way, of him getting chewed out by Tommy Rees at Notre Dame. If you haven't seen that clip on Twitter, go watch that. I wonder if did Drink have the same conversation? Like, is this just the Drew Pyne experience that you get a guy who didn't look like he should be anywhere near an SEC field against, a good Alabama team? But certainly we weren't expecting him to come out and do this in the second half. some of those throws were unbelievable. And we already talked about him. How many games can this team win the rest of the year with him if Brady didn't come back?
I mean, they get that Drew Pyne against Mississippi State. I think they get the win. I know it's on the road in the SEC, which is never an easy game, but Mississippi State's a mess this year. So I think they could definitely beat him. I mean, he was very good. And Oklahoma is not a good football team this year. Their defense is legit good. They have a legitimately great defense. And Drew Pyne went out and dotted them up in the fourth quarter. I mean, and he showcased a little bit of that running ability. So, I mean, he's not going to go out and scramble for 100-something yards, but he can pick up a first down if he needs to. I mean, he showed it twice in one critical drive. I don't think they beat South Carolina. South Carolina is on a really superb roll right now. They have an unbelievable edge rushing unit in Kennard and Stewart, the 5-star freshman who is just an athletic freak. They are a really good defense. I don't think there's much of a chance with Brady Cook either. I think South Carolina is going to win that game. Arkansas, if they get that Drew Pyne, they definitely have a chance. Arkansas is a better team than they were last year. Still a team that I think Missouri can definitely beat. It's another sellout at Faroe this year, so that certainly helps. If they get that one, I think Drew Pyne, at least if he plays like that, it gives them at least a decent chance to win. So if they get that Drew Pyne in these last 3 games, I'll say at worst they're 1-2, at best they're 2-1.
That's significant, folks. That only sounds that might not sound like that much of a difference between 0-3, but it was a resounding 0-3, at least from this podcast going forward.
8-4 and 9-3 look a lot better than just 7-5, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I loved it. I'll be all in on the Drew Pyne train. I love that he is the same age as all 3 hosts on this podcast. Shout out Kenny Van Doren. But yeah, I loved that he unlocked that. He gave Mizzou fans a moment that they're never going to forget, and it was amazing. Payton, last thing before we go to basketball, to finish out the Mizzou segment, we didn't get a chance to talk, I don't think, about the uniform reveal. How did you like the all black, yellow block M, Mr. Uniform Man?
It was an obvious choice, but sometimes the obvious choice is the best one. There was no reason to do anything other than bring out a classic look. I would have liked to have seen Mizzou just do straight throwbacks, bring back the mid-2000s old gold M, bring back the old pants, bring back everything. But it was a good look. It was a necessary look. So I thought the uniforms looked good.
All right. I agree. I like the all black look. I thought the block M looked good. And it obviously looks a whole lot better when Mizzou is beating Oklahoma 30-23. In the renewal, I think the Sooners might treat this a little bit more seriously on their side after a game like this. Wild stuff. That was probably the best spin I think we covered as much as we possibly could with just how insane this game was. It was really quite something, and I think I will probably rewatch it maybe multiple times just to enjoy that again. Insane.
One last thing before we move on. Drinkwitz always talks about, shutting out the noise, ignoring the critics, but he hears it all the time. He's the worst liar in the world when it comes to that. I mean, the first thing he did, his whole opening statement, this comes from Eli Hoff with the Post-Dispatch. Hashtag Mizzou coach Eli Drinkwitz's entire opening statement. This will be real disappointing to Bob Stoops, but OU doesn't whoop Missouri's ass anymore. Again, man, when Mizzou is winning, I think Drinkwitz is literally as perfect a representation of just kind of the attitude Missouri has to have in the SEC, because they always feel like they're battling to just kind of belong, in a weird way, like just to desperately prove that they belong where they are now. Drinkwitz embodies that. And when they're winning, statements like this hit really hard. When they're losing, it's frustrating, no doubt about it. But stuff like this is why I don't think you can ever be. I'll never be 100% out on Drinkwitz, no matter how frustrated he makes me, because of stuff like that. It's just, he knows the moment very well. He's a very good showman.
I think that's a very good way to put it. I agree with you. He definitely does know the moment, even if sometimes that moment is shooting himself in the foot from time to time. But
I mean, look, he's quote tweeting our own fans. I mean, he's quote tweeting DeMarco Murray. Missouri, I was texting Kenny about this today, actually. Missouri is not, it's different from a lot of SEC schools because it's a big school. People really, really care about the athletics, but it's not big to the point where wins like yesterday don't matter. Like if this was LSU or Alabama or Georgia, yesterday's game, it wouldn't have meant that much to those programs as much, quite frankly. I don't think there's any doubt about it. They probably, a lot of their fans would have been frustrated they were even in that type of game with Oklahoma. But that's just kind of the magic of just Mizzou in general, just this program. Kind of why suckers like me are just so proud to be an alum. Because games like that matter at Mizzou. Wins like that don't get forgotten. Those are things that you just kind of remember for the rest of your life.
Well said. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's also why suckers like us continue to put up with the heartbreak that also makes games like this, that much more magical and meaningful.
Games that make it worth it. Games like that make Auburn in 2022 worth it.
That's exactly where my mind went. It was Auburn 2022. Brutal. All right. Yeah. What a game. I mean, I hope if any of y'all listening had a blast, and whether you're watching, put your reactions to the end of that in the comments, because it's just absolutely insane stuff. Missouri beats Oklahoma 30-23. They will face South Carolina next Saturday, and will maybe go up. Missouri's going to stay in the college football playoff ranking on Tuesday. Look at that.
Not dead yet.
Not dead yet. That's what I was going to say. Payton, we might not be talking CFP, but guess what? Just like the NFL, when like the 5-8 team is technically not eliminated from playoff contention, they're on that in the hunt graphic. Missouri's on the in the hunt graphic. Everyone's favorite. They're in the hunt.
Oh yes, in the hunt.
In the hunt. Yeah, we love it. What a win for Mizzou. Speaking of what a win for Mizzou, let's segue, because rejoice, be glad. Missouri
it happened,
men's
folks.
Basketball has won a basketball game in the year of our Lord 2024. The Tigers beat the Howard Bison 77-62. And finally, they can not be in the stupid have you won a game in 2024. Of course, it's November graphic, and they're the only team that's because they won, like I said, 77-62. Payton, I know we're not going to take too much away from this, but we can discuss what we saw. It's obviously very exciting to get a win, even if it is against a mid-major team. Just your initial thoughts. We can go into some specifics as well from Missouri. How nice was it just to see a win?
It was great to see a win. Quite frankly, the state that this program was in, you'll take a win any way you can get it. And this was far from perfect. I mean, I don't want to dogpile on it. I know a lot of people were frustrated. I was frustrated with the way this game was going for a lot of the second half. I mean, Missouri came out and looked really, really great defense. It was another carbon copy almost of just every game we've seen for the last 2 years. I mean, Missouri came out, they played really good defense in the first 5 minutes. I mean, really the first half, they were great. I mean, other than the 3-point line, which Howard is so undersized, they were going to shoot a ton of threes, and they made most of them. They went 10 for 19 from deep. That can't happen. But Missouri otherwise guarded really well. Only 12 for 36 from the rest of the floor for Howard. They only put Howard on the line for 10 free throws. That's a good development. They out-rebounded Howard. So there you go. They forced 17 Howard turnovers. Missouri only had 12.
42 points in the paint. I like that.
Yes, and again, Howard was very undersized. They did not have anyone that could really match the size. Missouri had size mismatches across the board. But again, there's still so much they could fix from this. I mean, it was a 4-point game at one point. I think it was 4-point game with 4 minutes left after Marcus Dockery made a 3-pointer. And it was another, Missouri was up 15 at one point in the second half. And it's just another, here we go. This team, last year, they would wait for something bad to happen in the second half and went away. This time the script was flipped. Missouri closed the game. It was, I don't remember exactly. Yeah, it was 63-59 actually with 3:43 left. They outscored Howard 14-3 the rest of the way. And a lot of that came from some rather unlikely suspects. Marcus Allen had a couple big shots. Ant Robinson has really, he has looked like a completely different ball player this year. Just absolutely, you can tell guys are so frustrated by him that he guards. 13 points for him again. Again, it at times he looks almost out of control. He plays just with so much energy. He had another 3 fouls tonight, but you'll take it absolutely every step of the way.
3 steals with 3 fouls is good.
You'll take that 100%. I liked what I saw from Marcus Allen late. He played 12 minutes in this game. I was not expecting that. But Dennis clearly trusted him down the stretch. I remember saying this before the Memphis game. I was like, I think Marcus Allen is going to get minutes when they're trying to close out games down the stretch. That happened in this one. Honor Boateng went from a did not play coach's decision to...
How did he look?
He looked good when he was in. I would have liked to have seen a little more from him. Didn't make his 3-pointer. Missouri did not make many of those, by the way. Tamar Bates was 3 for 7. The rest of the team was 0 for 15. If you're not playing Howard, you're going to lose those games. So that's got to be fixed. But look, man, Missouri had not won a game since December 30th, 2023. They got good contributions from a lot of guys. Mark Mitchell had a great bounce back, 16 and 8. 8 for 8 from the line is huge for him. Missouri got to the line for 31 shots in this game. They have to keep doing that. I liked a lot of what I saw. I don't know how much of this you got to see, Knowlton. I'm happy they got the win. There's still a whole ton they can improve. And luckily they're at a soft spot in the schedule where they can get some cohesion. Just get through these blood donor games. Don't lose any of them. And I still think there's a decent chance that this season goes up in a positive direction.
I think that's a good summary. I still have yet to rewatch this game. I had a busy weekend, but my question was going to be, I was going to ask you how Honor Boateng looked. I think that's great. It was the most Dennis Gates thing ever when I saw him in the starting lineup from a DNP to a starter. It's just sure, why not? My next one is going to be about Mark Mitchell. Because I think my issue with him in the Memphis game was it just didn't look like he knew where his fit was, where his spot was in any given rotation. It seemed like that kind of changed. This feels like a team that just has a lot of potential to be really good at slashing, and the guys who can do it well and score can really hurt people. I'm talking Mark Mitchell, Tamar Bates. And then you just need to have people around the 3-point line who those guys can drive and kick to, and then they just need to hit the damn shots, which, if they do that, that seems like a pretty simple formula. So it seems like Mark Mitchell is better. Did Josh Gray dribble less?
For the most part, yes. I actually came away rather happy with Josh Gray in this game. They didn't need him to play much just because, again, Howard was so undersized. They were just trying to shoot 3-pointers. There wasn't much of a fit for Josh Gray. Dennis, I thought, actually did sub him in. I thought the substitutions for Gray actually made a lot of sense. I was happy to see how he used him. But yeah, you see it here. There was a lot more of the Aiden Shaw types in this game. 26 minutes for him as opposed to 13 for Gray. That's just kind of what this game called for the most part. Gray used his size well for the most part. 6 boards in 13 minutes. You'll take that every day of the week from him. Just he needs to not try and score a whole ton unless he has both of his baskets, I believe, came when they were able to get good matchups on him.
my next one off of that. So we had the same starting lineup as Memphis, just with Boateng subbed in for Robinson. I remember two guys kind of that we had flipped opinions on after the first game. You mentioned Shaw and then Tony Perkins. They both had, at least looking at the stat lines, relatively similar numbers. Perkins off the jump doesn't look great. 4 points, 4 rebounds, 2 turnovers. He was +7 in 24 minutes. Was there anything from him that you liked more, or is this are we getting a little worried about Tony P?
It's not a Tony Perkins problem. I'd say they need one of these transfer, or just not transfer per se, just one of these guards to get going, because Tamar Bates was great in this game. Mark Mitchell played his role much better. I thought he was aggressive, like not like too aggressive like he sometimes was in that second half against Memphis. He was aggressive in a good controlled fashion. He got matchups he liked off the dribble and took guys to the hoop and got fouled a lot, and he made his free throws. So that's big for him. But the problem was, it's like you were saying, they got looks from deep. Nobody was making them really. Caleb Grill, again, it's just not, I don't know what you do about Caleb Grill at this point. I mean, it is just really getting to a point of just, Dennis gave up. Like, that's how bad it was. I mean, Dennis did not play him down the stretch at all. He put him on the bench. Caleb Grill, 0 for 3. He had one of the worst shot attempts I've ever seen, trying to bait a foul call on a 3-pointer, and took a 3 while he was literally falling down, and it was so terrible. Jacob Cruz, I'm so not impressed so far. I have not liked what I've seen from him at all. 4 minutes, 0 for 3, did not register another stat. And Tony Perkins, he's able to. Tony Perkins does do some good things. He's a bit of a bigger guard, so he's able to grab a little more boards than you'd expect. Had a couple assists. He had a couple really great like both of his steals were huge impact steals that led to buckets the other way. I know one he threw to Gray for a slam. I think the other, there was a huge Aiden Shaw and Mark Mitchell lob. I forget who threw each one. I think Ant threw one of them and Perkins threw the other. I can't remember which was which. But again, 0 from the field. I mean, they need... Bates made 3 of 7 from deep. He needs a co-star to get good from deep. Warwick played a decent amount in this game. I actually liked a little bit of what they saw from him. You mentioned like they're a team that has a lot of potential, like slashing their way to the basket. Warwick was really good at that. He made both of his 2-point attempts, and he got to the line. But his 3-pointers were ugly. I'd like to see him take less of those, kind of just be a bit more of an isolation guy, kind of take it to the hoop. I thought he gave them some good things, but the 3-pointers were ugly. But overall, it's not just a Tony Perkins thing. They just need one of Perkins, Cruz, Grill, Warwick. One of them needs to get going from deep, or just really contribute more offensively.
I think it's a good testament to see a team find a way to win a game where they shoot 13% from 3. I think overall that's a good thing. I mean, and you look at it too, like you mentioned, the rebounding was good. They forced 17 turnovers and had 11 of those were steals. That's really good.
That's
20
the recipe.
The
they need to keep doing that.
Yeah, if you keep taking some of that pride defensively, like if you continue that, the shooting is gonna happen. I think that's a lot less worrisome than even if they had hit a bunch of threes to that on Friday night and then were still somehow in the game just because they weren't forcing turnovers, they weren't getting rebounds. I would rather have it at this point in the year that you're making stops on defense and getting boards, and you have to figure out the shots got to come later. I'd rather have that be the case, which is what it is right now for Mizzou. So yeah, not too much over you can take away. I like that Warwick's been good. I saw a highlight of his that impressed me.
Yeah, I liked Warwick. You can tell that bucket getter, like the active points leader mindset is in there. He's got to find his flow, I think, more than anything else. And I think Missouri's next set of games is really going to help in that regard, get at least one of these guys going.
Well, and it's just, I wonder, you say that because it's like to me, again, though, like setting flow comes down to like, you gotta maybe not tinker as much with these lineups, or at least, make it matchup based, but let them
Yeah.
figure it out.
And I think it was better in that
Yeah.
regard, because, I mean, you didn't see Trent Pierce was not good in this game. Dennis gave him 5 minutes. He clearly didn't have it. He took him out. Cruz, I didn't like when Cruz came in, but Dennis, to his credit, took him out quickly. Grill, Dennis saw, like, okay, he doesn't have it, and took him out. He did ride a bit more of the hot hand in this one.
Okay.
It was really, if you look at it, I'd say it was really more like Honor Boateng did not play at all in the second half. I don't think if he did, it was very early. You saw a little bit of Gray down the stretch. Mitchell played a lot. Obviously, Bates played a lot. Perkins was good defensively and everything, so I think Dennis kept him in a good amount. It really was more like a true 8-9-man rotation down the stretch, which is good. And look, a thing with Howard, I think that is worth mentioning. Again, Missouri should beat them 100 times out of 100, twice on Sunday, all that. Howard is a team that has won their conference twice in a row. They're expected to win it again. They're a good program. Again, Missouri should beat them 100 times out of 100. But it is a team that can ball a little bit. So they tested Missouri a bit. Missouri actually responded when they had adversity in the second half. Like you said, they're not going to shoot 3 for 22 every night. Even if they're a bad shooting team this year, that is paltry. I mean, that is just numbers that are not going to be happening consistently.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad you made the Howard point too, because it is worth it. And this is a general college basketball thing, and I won't get too in the weeds here, but like, to me, in this day and age with the player movement, mid-major teams, like the high-end ones that want to play against good teams in non-con, like those teams are better. They find their way into some good recruiting battles because, good teams aren't taking as many recruits because they can recruit the portal. They get guys in the portal who are high major guys that don't work out. So it is worth it. Like, if you're going to play a mid-major, and play these bye games, I would rather, Missouri be tested against a team that's picked to win its conference. That could be a tournament team that at least has maybe an identity, something it does well, and you see how well Mizzou stops that. There's at least something to that. So that's worth a mention. I think, good stuff. I'm looking at these minutes distributions. I like it a little bit more as I stare at it. So I'll rewatch, and I'll have to give a full.
Again, it was not a flawless game by any stretch.
Yeah.
There were still some funky subs in there. Still just things you don't like. I mean, it's just Jacob Cruz and Caleb Grill have just really been so far to me.
If that's going to continue, what we need to see the difference between last year and this year is that fat needs to be trimmed. It's just eventually they're just frozen out of the rotation. If they can't play, they can't play.
And one thing I don't think anyone should be able to dispute is that there is undoubtedly a lot more talent this year than last year. There's more guys that can play. Like, it's not like Dennis this year has to choose between whether he wants Carolero in or Jordan Butler in. Like, there are good pieces in here, but it's like you said, Dennis has got to identify who those pieces are going to be this year and cut it down, because you can't play. I know Dennis Gates would love to do it. It's a 40-minute game. You can't play 12 guys a night. By the time it rolls around, you got to have it down to, I'm not even saying get it down to a true 8-man. Like, just give your best 8 a chance
10
every
is
night.
fine.
But
10 is fine.
Make it like 10 with like 1 or 2 only getting a few minutes, and just make it matchup based. Like, maybe on a certain night Trent Pierce doesn't play because it just doesn't fit the matchup, and the next night he does play. He plays like 10 minutes because it's just more matchup based. But you don't have to play these guys every minute. And I think Dennis deep down does know it. I think he will start to trim it more because, I mean, he started to do it in this game. I mean, he took Cruz out quickly. He stage-caned Cruz. Grill did not play down the stretch. Whether it's right or wrong, I would have liked to have seen a little more Honor Boateng. But he did not play Honor Boateng much in the second half, if at all. So it'll get down there, I think. It's just, this is a good time to experiment. quite frankly, because these are all games Mizzou should win. And I think they have the talent to, if Dennis Gates really needs to, just run Mark Mitchell, Tamar Bates, your best 5 out there. They'll get the job done against these teams.
Yeah, well said. I think it's just we got to keep going and see where those changes kind of be made and who kind of starts to emerge. And like you said, some of these games that you're trying to rattle off and get some momentum in non-con. Before we go to quick hits, you're hearing this on Monday. Mizzou does play Monday night against Eastern Washington. The game is at 6 p.m. You can watch it at SEC Network Plus or ESPN Plus. Payton, Eastern Washington has lost by 20 to Colorado and beaten Seattle 93 to 86 in their 2 games. I would like you to guess what they are ranked in the Big Sky preseason poll. What they were ranked, I guess.
How many teams are in the Big Sky?
10.
1 to 10. I'm going to say they were picked to finish 8th, Knowlton.
They were picked to finish 9th. Very good guess. So
not a
Howard situation.
This is a game that hopefully you win by 20.
Yeah, they're not very good. So there's a little primer on Eastern Washington. I'm going to do that for the rest of these because this is kind of fun. But yeah, Missouri, Eastern Washington, 6 p.m. on tonight when you're listening to this. So enjoy that. But yeah, there's hoops, there's football. Good weekend for Mizzou. 2 wins. Let's keep it rolling. We're in this football and basketball fun limbo period. And yeah, hopefully it's a successful one for Mizzou. For now, we'll finish the rest of this show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. We'll finish out the show. No Kenny, which means no Kenny custom quiz, which means we're back on the Daily Dozen Trivia. I'm going to host it this time, Payton. Surprise, surprise. Daily Dozen Trivia.
No.
Payton. What do you mean no?
It's up on my screen.
So? I guess
so. I'm sharing the screen.
All right, fine. Host.
Yeah. Get on.
Tell the people what it is.
For those that don't know, the Daily Dozen Trivia, you get
ads.
9 questions. I don't really know why it's called dozen. You get NFL, NBA, MLB, geography, celebrity mashup, grocery products, interesting, television, movies, and music. Those are the categories the question will be in. Knowlton and I will try to answer it. Knowlton, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
NFL, a 3rd-round pick out of Arizona. This linebacker played his entire career with the Bears from 2013 to 2014 and made 7 Pro Bowls. I know the answer. I want to know if you know.
It's 2003 to 2014, by the way. You said 2013 to 2014.
Sorry, 2003 to 14. Yeah.
My first guess was Lance Briggs.
Correct, Lance Briggs.
Good job. Thanks, man.
There, we got one. NBA, after his lone season in Los Angeles, the Lakers traded Gary Payton to this Eastern Conference team in 2004. Knowlton, what is it?
I know the answer. I want to know if you know the answer.
The Milwaukee Bucks.
Correctamundo.
Yep.
They trade. Do you know who they traded for to get Gary Payton in that?
I do not. That's also not the answer. Knowlton,
wait.
So thanks.
I thought that was the Ray Allen trade.
Moving on.
That's embarrassing.
Sweet. Major League Baseball. Luke Hochevar appeared in 279 Major League games for this American League team after getting taken first overall in the 2006 MLB draft. Knowlton, I know the answer to you. I'll give you a hint. It was a team that won the World Series in the mid-2010s.
The Royals.
Yes! Well done, the Royals. He was a reliever for that team.
I'm totally this Gary Payton question. I got
geography. Annapolis is the capital of what state? I know the answer to you.
Maryland.
Yes, correct. Maryland. Sorry, that's a little awkward.
Oh my God. I had the wrong. I was on the right track. I had the wrong Gary Payton trade.
Well, we get an amnesty one, so I mean,
I'll let you
hopefully
guess, but I looked that one. I had to look that one up. I was too.
Name the 2 celebrities matched up in this photo. For those listening, really sorry, this is awkward for us. Okay, so that's Adam Driver.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the other lady is.
Yeah, your guess is as good as my.
Like, I've seen that face, but I couldn't tell you from where.
I don't know. My first guess was like Mila Kunis, but I don't think that's right.
Sure, why not? Mila Kunis. That's as good an answer as I've got.
You can do it. Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grocery
Shit,
products, along with classic TV dinners. We didn't get it for those that don't know. This frozen food brand sells products like Brown and Serve sausage links, mega bowls, and homestyle bakes. Brown and Serve.
Is this
Jimmy Dean?
Yeah, but I don't think it's Jimmy Dean. I think it's like a different one.
Yeah,
I've bought the sausage links, but I don't remember the brand. The packaging is like yellow, but we could just guess Jimmy Dean for. That's the best guess I'd have.
Oh well, Jimmy Dean isn't even an option.
Oh great. Type in like Lincoln. I want to say it starts with like an L. L-I.
Jack Links is definitely not it.
Yeah. No. That's not.
Lint is a chocolate one.
Oh. Oh my God. Wait. Oh, it's like there's like a log. It's like log cabin something. I can like picture the packaging.
It's not log.
I don't know. We come back. Can we come back to it? Let's come back to that one.
Yeah, sure. We'll come back to it.
Let me see if I can think.
Television. An adaptation of a British show of the same name. Drew Carey hosted this improv comedy series that originally ran on ABC and ABC Family from 1998 to 2007. Is this The Office?
No. Improv comedy series. That's not.
I have no idea. I just know The Office has a British and American version.
No, The Office was on Fox. This is then that would have been a
improv comedy. Whose line is it anyway? Is it that one?
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's right. I think. But I had the wrong Gary Payton trade.
Wow, we got it. Go us. We have 4 right. Julia Roberts received $25 million to play an art school teacher in this 2003 drama that featured Kirsten Dunst, Julia Stiles, and Maggie Gyllenhaal. I have no idea.
Art school teacher. I don't know. Mean Girls. That's definitely not right.
The Notebook.
It's not The Notebook.
Music. I got the eye of the tiger, a fighter dancing through the fire because I am a champion.
There's no way. There's no way we got this
ever.
There's no way we got this with Kenny not here.
Yeah, thank God. He's probably going to listen back to this and be singing it to himself.
Oh my God.
The answer is Roar by Katy Perry.
Kenny is a big fan of that song and another one.
So we've got 5. I mean, do you know the grocery one? Otherwise, I'm just going to guess one.
Yeah, just guess one. I've bought the kind before, but I don't remember the name.
Jello.
Yeah, guess Jello, sure.
Okay, we're going to use double dip.
All right.
We're going to use it on the NBA one. So what's the answer?
So Gary Payton in 2003 was traded. I didn't pay attention that it said it was from the Lakers because he was traded from the Supersonics to the Bucks, and then he went to the Lakers, and then he was traded. I knew this too. He was traded to the Boston Celtics.
Okay. Boston.
I thought it was the Supersonics trade when he went to the Bucks.
So there we go, Knowlton. We got 6 right.
Wait, I just want to know the groceries one. That's the only one I care about.
Oh, right.
I think you can scroll down.
Look again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct answers.
Look at the one. Mona Lisa Smile. Never heard of it. Celebrity mashup. We did have Adam Driver, and the other person is Jennifer Love Hewitt, who I have never heard of.
Nope.
And grocery products, it's Banquet. Oh, it's Banquet. Oh,
yeah.
They make like chicken and stuff too. Banquet chicken. Yeah. Okay.
That's
bummer.
We could have got that one. All right, we did pretty good though. I'll take.
We got 6. So
I'll take 6. Well done, Payton. Sorry,
all right. Let's go. Tigers in the Wild.
Tigers in the Wild. Payton, you want to read Kenny's Tiger in the Wild?
Tigers in the Wild is going to be. We're going to have to. We have to break the Chase Daniel rule. We've used him so much that we tried to take a break from it, but we have to use it this week. Chase Daniel.
Kenny insists.
Of course. That Mizzou Oklahoma rivalry meant a lot to a lot of people, and DeMarco Murray. I mean, this was a big thing back when it happened. I remember just randomly tweeted a photo of I don't know who number 40 is. I'm not gonna lie. People are I'm gonna show my age right now. I don't know who number 40 is for Oklahoma. But he's like in the face of Chase Daniel. It is a photo that does not make Chase Daniel look super good. He looks kind of cowardly. But Chase Daniel quote tweeted DeMarco Murray after Mizzou won with a shrug emoji. So a little bit of fun banter there. Drinkwitz also quote tweeted the DeMarco Murray tweet. Knowlton, do you have any thoughts while I try and find out who?
I was doing the same thing.
Okay, yeah, you try and find it. Because I'm sure it's someone I'll know if I see the name.
This is a top 10 Sooners running backs. There's no photos though.
That's not a running back.
I don't know.
It looks like a linebacker. No, we're gonna find this right now.
Okay, well, I can give my thoughts. I agree with you. They should have gone with the old gold. I like the. I think it would have been cool if they went the straight throwback. Do you find it? That's the only thought.
Nope. I'll go to my Tiger in the Wild next. This one comes from Megan Montemoro, a Cubs beat writer. The Cubs claimed left-handed pitcher Rob Zastryzny off the waivers from the Brewers. Rob Zastryzny, I'm 99% sure I'm saying that right, is a former Missouri Tiger. He's a true son, and now he's on my favorite baseball team. Go us.
Acquired from my favorite baseball team.
Yep, your favorite baseball team hates true sons.
Nope, they have another one. Former future.
Good. Go ahead and talk about your Tiger in the Wild.
Payton really wants to research this so badly.
I want to find out.
He wants to know so bad. My Tiger in the Wild's Kobe Brown. Nothing too crazy here other than he's off and running in the NBA. This season, he played 3 minutes against Philadelphia 76ers on Wednesday, and he scored his first points of the season. He's probably going to play a lot in the G League this year because the Clippers are kind of being dumb and still trying to win games and whatever. So we'll have a lot of good Kobe Brown G League stuff. I know the G League just started, so I'm also trying to stall because Payton is still finding this number. But
I found a number 40, but it's not the freshman fullback.
I'm hoping Kobe Brown can still get some good run and be kind of the two-way guy that he needs to probably be in his second season. But he did score to start off the 2024-25 season. And he's 100% from the field now.
Yeah, this is like the 8th week in a row we've had Kobe Brown on the thing. So
it's just preseason reports.
Yeah.
Did you find it?
Okay, I believe it is Curtis Lofton, a junior linebacker in 2007. That would match up with the time frame that Chase Daniel was there, obviously. That guy looked like a linebacker. He was huge. So I believe I'm going to look up what Curtis Lofton looks like.
Do you not know who Curtis Lofton is?
Not off the top. Oh, my goodness, I do, because of that photo of him on the Saints. Yep.
Oh,
okay.
I just found another angle of the same photo. You're right. It's Curtis Lofton.
Yeah, this is Curtis Lofton, definitely. My bad, Curtis Lofton.
Some people were.
I'm not old. I'm not. Yeah, people are definitely yelling at me, and that's rightfully so.
I just found. Yeah, I'm looking at another image of it right now.
Yeah, he was literally the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year that year.
I was gonna say, I was like, Payton, do you not know who Curtis Lofton is?
Yeah, my bad. I should have known that off rip. So it's Curtis Lofton. People are definitely yelling at us right now, and you know what? We deserve it.
Yeah,
that's very young head of us. But yeah. Moving on.
Headlines. Kenny's headline is the AP poll, as it is every week, which reads on ESPN the following this week. Unbeaten Indiana rises to number 5 in AP Top 25 College Football poll. This obviously doesn't matter as much, but I do think it's fun.
Doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter at all. But it could be a good foreshadowing to the playoff rankings on Tuesday. It was a good week in college football. Some fun games.
It was a lot of upsets. Colorado now controls its own destiny to the Big 12 title game. I know a lot of people are not going to be happy about that, but that's the world we live in. If Colorado wins out, not only that, they're probably in position for a playoff game.
Yeah, and a bye if they win the Big 12.
Yep. So
depending on what there's that, we have the possibility that Boise State maybe rises high enough to be the highest or a higher champ than BYU if they lose and could get that 4 seed.
They'd be higher than Colorado too, probably.
Yeah, like it could be if the Big 12 and the ACC keep eating each other. But yeah, Miami lost.
Miami finally lost. Thank God. That was annoying. BYU almost lost.
BYU almost lost. LSU lost to Alabama in a big one. Georgia upset by Ole Miss. If you watch any of that game, that was crazy. Lane Kiffin can win the big one.
That was the one Ole Miss needed. I mean, Ole Miss is squarely back in the playoff hunt now.
And Indiana,
they win their last two, they're in. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think 2 losses. There's going to be a bundle of 2 losses SEC teams. I think we're still in the chaotic mode where we can have like 7 teams tied for first in the SEC, which is very fun. And Indiana 10-0 at like number 5 in the country. Crazy.
Wow, Ole Miss is a Florida and Mississippi State win from being in the playoff. That would
be the funniest Egg Bowl ever if they lose that game.
Yeah. But yeah, not a whole ton. I mean, Indiana's going to be in, barring a disaster against Purdue. I don't expect Indiana will beat Ohio State, but they can absolutely afford a loss there and still make it.
The other thing that's coming into play too for like a team like Indiana, well, maybe not Indiana, but even some of these SEC teams is what are they going to do for a 3-loss team that only gets his 3rd loss if they go to the SEC championship? If it's like an LSU or a Bama or an
Ole Miss. Ole Miss could be teetering that line.
Yeah, there's a ton of teams that could be teetering. Like it's going to be really interesting.
A&M could be the most interesting one, especially if they go out and beat Texas, but then lose the SEC title game. Hard conversation.
Yeah, can I ask you the hypothetical I've been thinking about? If that happens and it's like an LSU or a Bama, and they
LSU's done. LSU's out.
Or not LSU, sorry. If it's like an Ole Miss or an Alabama, and they go and they lose that 3rd game, and they don't get put in, is that the death of conference championships? Because they're not going to let that happen to the big teams for every year.
Yeah, it might be, and that makes me very sad because I love the conference title games. And maybe it wouldn't be because as these conferences have all made it very clear it's all about money nowadays, and those conference title games are money machines. But so are the playoff games. And I mean, if you lose a playoff team for that, I mean, maybe that is it. I hope it doesn't. I don't think a team really should be punished for losing in the conference title game in a 12-team playoff. The 4-team playoff, yes, I think those matter. See Ohio State winning by 59 over Wisconsin. Sorry, Knowlton, but I would really... I would be very, very... They didn't steal their spot, but I mean, it got them in. But it would really, really surprise me if a team losing in the conference title game would put them below someone else at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting thing to think about. But yeah, there you go. There's AP poll talk, and I guess it's more college football playoff talk. But Payton, what's your headline?
Yeah, this had to be talked about. No doubt about it.
You knew we weren't gonna.
We weren't gonna ignore this. There's no headline. The headline is straight up Norfolk State 57, Missouri 54. Missouri women's basketball lost at home to Norfolk State less than a week after losing to Vermont by like 20 at Vermont, mind you. This is it. I mean, Pynchon is as good as gone, I think. I don't think you come back from this. You're an SEC team losing to absolute, just to blood donors. No other way around it. Missouri, even in their one win against Southern, didn't look that great. They turned the ball over 20 times. They turned it over 14 against Norfolk State. I don't even know, like, really how that happens. I mean, you had Shriek hit 5 of 9 3-pointers. Missouri shot well from 3-point land, but I mean, they did absolutely nothing otherwise. It's just, I mean, Wilson went 0 for 7 from the field. Nia Wilson has yet to hit a shot this season. It's ugly. And quite frankly, at a time where women's basketball has never been more popular, it's pretty embarrassing that this is the product Missouri can come up with. And I know maybe a coaching change would have happened had DRF not left when she did. That kind of threw the timing off. It still is just kind of mind-boggling they brought her back anyways, no matter who. was there. I mean, she's now. I don't. It would take
Yeah,
a
Robin's
miracle.
gone.
It would take an abs. I'm just stating it kind of how it is. 2,000 people went to see this game, and Missouri. It wasn't like Jackson State against the men's team last year, where Missouri was in the lead, but like Jackson State hung around and took the lead at the last second. I mean, Norfolk State led large swaths of this game. They were up at halftime. Missouri finally took the lead in the fourth quarter. Then they didn't score they scored 1 point in the last 5-12, and Norfolk State won 57-54. That's a loss to an American East team and a MEAC team. It's unrecoverable. I would be, honestly, with this level of talent that Missouri clearly has, which is not much, I'd be stunned if Missouri won a conference game, to be honest with you. The rest of the conference has gotten better. Missouri has gone stagnant. It's very disappointing, considering what this program was even just a few years ago with Sophie Cunningham. This is where they're at now. They are losing games. They're losing 2 of their first 3 games, and they have not played a high major team yet.
Yeah, and they've got one coming up, at least in Syracuse. They play SMU on their non-con schedule. They open up SEC play with number 1 South Carolina at home, by the way. So that'll be great on January 2nd. And you mentioned, like, it sucks with the way, college women's basketball is like really grown. And, you look at the view from Mizzou Arena when this team has played their 2 home games, like no one's there. Obviously, no one wants to watch a awful team.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're not playing good teams. They're not a good team themselves. I mean, why are they going to Western Illinois? Like, what in the world is this schedule?
Who scheduled this?
But it just, I mean, they got the SLU game again. I mean, it's bad. It's just bad. We're kind of counting down the days at this point. It seems like, maybe on Molly Miller watch. I know that's the popular name everyone throws around for Missouri, but yeah, changes are clearly coming unless something really drastic improves. And quite frankly, in the years since Sophie Cunningham, how could you have any faith that improvement is coming?
Yeah, I mean, they've had talent since then. I mean, Haley Frank was like an elite player to come through this program, and they couldn't win anything.
Asia Blackwell was great. They didn't win anything with her.
That ended in an ugly way. Like, it was just bad. Yeah. This is a note, by the way, from an article on ESPN of a list of 12 women's basketball coaches to watch. Hot seat watch, by the way. Pinchin's 15th season with Mizzou. Her contract is set to expire in April. The Tigers are 4 NCAA tournament appearances in her tenure. All came between 2016 and 2019. During the current Phoenix,
when they had easily the best player in program history.
Yeah, they've done nothing.
I mean, it's just
here's a stat. Since Cunningham has graduated, Mizzou is 25-53 in SEC play.
Just really bad. I mean, it's just kind of the same old story. I mean, they have players that have shown promise. Like Ashton Judd has been a very promising player for 3 years, but I mean, then she goes 2 for 6 against Norfolk State. Grace Slaughter, kind of the same deal.
Didn't play very much in this game.
Yeah, it's just bad. Avery Kroenke was a big deal when she committed. She has just done little to nothing in her career. Shriek has been good. That wasn't just a one-off. Shriek has been promising, but just no development. Just kind of not athletic at all. I mean, I watched the end of that Vermont game. I won't lie to you. I didn't watch a second of this Norfolk State game, but I watched the ending of that, the last quarter of that Vermont game, and it's not an athletic team, which has been a problem for years now. Yeah. It's just ugly. It's just a bad basketball program right now.
We'll always have that win over South Carolina a couple years ago when they were number 1.
Warren Hansen.
Yeah, that was amazing. I ran around my kitchen just losing my mind watching that on TV. It was amazing. Well, somber notes. I'm going to keep the somber notes going, but not for Mizzou, because this is my headline of the week. We talked about the good of college football at the AP poll, the bad of college football right here. FSU's Mike Norvell fires both coordinators amid 1-9 season. This is just the dunk on Florida State segment, because Mizzou fans, like, Florida State, keep in mind, is ranked above this team preseason. If you think it kind of turned bad for Mizzou, obviously it's hard to say after the Oklahoma game. Take a gander at what's going on in Tallahassee, Florida. Remember when Alabama almost hired Mike Norvell, Payton? And now he's 1-9 with Florida.
Genuinely hilarious. And they'll get a second win because they have Charleston Southern on the schedule, who is, I believe, a 1-9 FCS program. But it's not even like Florida State is just losing all these close games inexplicably. They are getting blown out of the water every week. I mean, you see it right here in this ESPN article from Mark Schlabach. Do you know if that's how it's said?
I don't. That was good effort. Sorry, Mark.
Schlabach. Either way, Mark Schlabach is how I'm going to say it. Their 52-3 loss to Notre Dame was their third loss in a row by 20 or more. Florida State still has not put up more than 21 points in a game this season. They are just horrible.
The game they put 21 points up was their first game of the year against Georgia Tech.
Yep. I mean, they won a game against Cal miraculously. They were very lucky to win it. They won it 14-9. Since then, I mean, they haven't reached 20 since that. They haven't reached 20 since the Georgia Tech game.
Nope.
They are unbelievably bad.
Yeah, they're one of the worst FBS teams. It's crazy. They were ranked 9th preseason, of 2 spots above Mizzou.
Wow, unbelievable.
Preseason AP poll, everybody. Yeah, I just thought it was a fun dunk on Florida State segment. I have a bonus headline, kind of, but should I save it for next week? It did happen over the weekend. It was something I just thought about.
Are you going to remember it next weekend?
I could. It was just the Auburn fight on the plane. That was just really.
Oh fun. Yeah, no, I do. Dang, we should have talked about that.
Yeah,
but
I forgot.
You could save that if you want.
Auburn plane fight. Yeah, the 2 Auburn guys got in a fight on a plane. They had to turn around. They were going to Houston to play against the Cougars, and the plane had to turn around. There was leaked audio from the captain who said, like, we have basketball players fighting. We have to turn around. And they went back to Auburn and then left later.
Then you know what they did, Knowlton?
They turned around and beat Houston, proving that the Auburn Tigers are worse at taking a punch from the Auburn Tigers than the Houston Cougars.
Yeah, there was some crazy stat about, I think Auburn shot like 55%, and there was some crazy stat about how against Houston that hadn't been done more than like 8 times in 3 years or something.
Yeah, I mean, they play ridiculous defense.
Yeah, Auburn's good. I believe they're the number 1 team on Ken Palm now.
A fight between 2 of teammates on the plane on the way to the game. Hilarious. Yeah. Hilarious. Only like college sports do you get like the type of stuff like that. They made him have to turn the plane around. It's awesome.
Yeah. Absurd. It's college basketball season, baby.
Yeah, we're so back. Oh, we've got
look at this. Missouri now above Mississippi in Ken Palm.
I love it. Number 45 offense, 71 defense. Finding the balance. All right, Payton, joke of the week. Let's finish this thing off.
Well, I don't have one pulled up because I've been presenting this whole time.
I'll pull one up.
Yeah, you do it.
Jokes.
Very professional operation we're running here.
130 hilarious corny jokes to make you laugh. This one comes from our friend Al Roker at the Today Show.
Disclaimer, Payton, it doesn't actually, but
yes, it does. Payton, why? Well, I think you asked that one. No, I'm gonna ask you anyway. Where do polar bears keep their money?
Ice banks, snowbanks.
Snowbanks.
Yep,
correct.
I've said that one.
Correctamundo. All right, good show, Payton. We'll have Kenny back on Friday to preview South Carolina. We'll recap the Eastern Washington game and preview Mizzou's next basketball game after that as well. We're in full flow right now in the unwritten rule.
It'll be interesting because they play Mississippi Valley State the day we normally record.
I'll have to plan that one out.
Yep.
Maybe we go live after the Delta Devils upset the Missouri Tigers.
No.
They lose to a SWAC team for again.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'd go live after that one.
Don't sleep on the Delta Devils. All right. Hope you enjoyed the Oklahoma game. That was freaking awesome. And enjoyed the week. Have the good vibes and see if we can roll it into South Carolina. Until then, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.